Facing challenges and overcoming setbacks is part of doing business. Whether you have the expertise to survive them or not could mean the difference between success or failure. Welcome to We Are Women, featuring revealing conversations that provide invaluable insights into the success secrets of female masterminds. A must listen for every entrepreneurial woman. Now here's your host, Janeen Vosper.
Hi, it's Janeen Vosper here, and welcome to this episode of the We Are Women podcast. Today with me, I have Nici Buckley from Autumn 8. I go in to say Atom 8 then, and it's Autumn 8. So Nici is a self-proclaimed software nerd with an addiction to learning. With over 20 years of working for a software company and climbing to the top of the corporate ladder, Nici then branched out to create her own company, helping to simplify software. Oh my God, I know why I'm talking to you today, Nici. Social media and the SEO for small business. With a background in tech, and teaching and customer service, she is able to explain software in simple terms. Definitely know why we're talking today. And now has over 9,000 followers on her different social media platforms. And to balance out her life, she is an avid seascape and marine animal painter. I did not know that. I'm going to have to stalk you now to find your paintings, Nici. Welcome. I'm so glad that you could be here with us.
Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm really excited to talk to your listeners about all of those things.
Like the whole, SEO, really software as it is. A lot of people go, I think they know their social media, but it's the SEO. It's all the part. How did a girl like you get involved in computers?
Well, it goes back. I started into computers in the software industry about over 20 years ago, but don't tell anyone I'm that old. And then I stayed with a company where we were developing software for SMSFs, so self-managed super funds. So it wasn't exciting software, I'm going to say that. It wasn't gaming, that's all the fun stuff. I got to know about compliance and regularly conversed with the ATO, so that was a bit boring side of it. But I did all of the non-development side of things. I talked with the clients, helped them with support, got the training going, and we started as a company of 4 people, and then through growing, and we bought some businesses, we went through venture capital, and we grew to a size of over 500 people. So It was a big learning curve.
Wow, that's a significant growth in a business, isn't it?
Yeah.
I hope you had shares in it.
I did have a little bit of shares in it.
Oh, that's good.
And we sold it at one stage. And then my boss stayed for the 3 years that he had tied in. And I stayed for that long as well. But then I wanted some more challenges and a bit more excitement, something different to SMSF. And so I decided that the parts of my job that I really enjoyed was the customer service side and helping the customers, because I had a real epiphany moment at one stage, because I was running all of the customer service teams, and we had a client that we lost. And the reason that we lost them, which we found out after the fact, was because they'd gone to another software provider who showed them this great feature. And so they went through data migration and moved over and went through all that horrific process, and then told us that they were leaving and why. And I said, but we've got that feature in our software. And I realised that there's so many times that people are, they're in their work. They're in the trench doing the work. They don't have time to read release notes. And we tried release notes and release videos and things to show all the new features as they came out. But they didn't, even if they've had time to find out about them, they didn't actually have the time to implement them as well. So I'd started this customer success program where we had our teams that were actually going on sites to help the clients implement the new features as we put them out, so that they would actually get the benefits of the software. And that was my epiphany, that there's so many companies out there that just aren't using their software to the full advantage, and they could be using it a lot better and helping themselves and saving time. But it's just getting that little bit of break or the mindset to make that change in the software and configure it so that they can use it.
I think that I know for me personally, Nici, that's one of the things when I've bought into different software platforms that look really great at the time, and they probably are, but then haven't spent the time to learn them and learn all the features that they have. And I've just using a new one at the moment, and I've spent the last 2 days just making sure that I've got the lead pages. The way they do it is different than the brand lead pages, so that their pages are done. And then I've had the videos from one screen, watching the video and then applying it, and watching the video and applying it, watching the video and applying it. So at least I now, right, okay, I'm happy with that part of it. Yeah, but I'm
exactly.
very guilty of that. I think that's just part of human nature. Let's just get in and do our business that we're doing and be the technician, and we just don't. That's just something else. That's just another problem, isn't it?
That's it. And a lot of tech is a problem to small businesses. That's what they see. When they complain about what they're struggling with, tech is always up there as one of the horrors, the things they don't want to deal with. And so what I wanted to try and do with the company was, when I started it, was to create this company that you could come to when you had problems, or if you had an area that you wanted someone to deal with and get it up and running, just like you do with the hardware side. So there are all these hardware companies out there that manage your hardware side for you and deal with the networks, and everyone's used to that idea. But getting them used to this idea of a software provider or software assistant really for them it's taken a little bit of time for people to start to get to grasp that. And what I found is that I needed to have that little bit of a pivot, that side area where I needed to get into the business, and SEO and social media are the ones that pop up the most, that people haven't realised about or do need some help with, or will put their hands up for now. And once I get on board with the companies helping them in that way, they've started to ask me, oh, can you help us with this? Oh, can you put that in place? And so it's becoming what I want it to become, but it's just taken a little longer than I thought it would take.
And it's all part of the process, isn't it, of small business, that waiting for that tipping point where it starts to happen a little bit more automatically as well. And it's been a bit of a crazy year too.
Yes. Made it an interesting year to be in business. But looking at, I read Bernard Salt's statistics on the COVID changes, and my area is actually the area that's one of the few that is doing well out of the situation, because so many people are realising now that they have to go digital. They need to put some energy into being up the top of the search engines so that they can get more business.
And when they didn't have to worry about that as much, when you just go door to door, as a simple example of it, then it's a very different space than having to attract attention, and to be able to do both well. That's recognizing it. And I think the companies that adapted quicker were the ones that already had a lot in place that was digital, as opposed to the ones that, I know for myself, I've had run online training programs for years. So when we had to go digital, I really didn't have to do anything different around that. I could still run a webinar, sell into the digital training program, and then run the one-on-ones with those clients that purchase it on Zoom. So I didn't have to create anything. It was really cool. I know a lot of people are really racing out and creating things, and mine was there. That saved a lot of time and effort. Yeah.
You're one of the lucky ones. And I think it's really good that the government's put a lot of money into digital changes. So I know the Queensland government had an assistance grant. I know the federal government are talking more about how they can help in that way. So it's something for small businesses to keep an eye on, to see if there are some ways they can get assisted through the digital process.
And I think, I know I've invested in an upgrade on my website and things, but thankfully the government with the JobKeeper has actually funded. I know a friend of mine has wanted an online training program for ages and got a videographer in, and she's a bra maker, so it was teaching people how the steps to make bras, and she'd been talking about it for years, but because she was able to do it now. So it is, and then she's taking that as a digital alternative to business as well. But what is a nice girl like you doing in computers? It's just it fascinates me. You're a different generation than I am, and it wasn't something we did, and now it's just something I have to learn or pay somebody else to do, one of the two, but still like to have an understanding. And it's not baffles, but I think I've nearly got past the point of, oh, I'm going to make a mistake with this, nearly. But I know when you're comfortable with it, people just go and do it, and oh well, consequence. So what one thing is to get the job, but then to go. Did you do a degree, or did you just sort of fall into it, or are you a gamer, as I heard you say?
Oh, no, not a gamer. Don't want to. No, not a gamer. It would be a much more exciting software experience if I had been, because those people went overseas for holidays, trips for their marketing and everything like that. So, yeah, gaming software would have been good. But I started, actually, it's going to surprise you a little bit probably, I'm a pure maths major. So that's where I headed. But I did do some computing at uni, and then I became a maths teacher at schools, and I really wanted to teach the computing side, but as a maths teacher, there's so much in need for maths teachers that I only taught maths, which was interesting and not as enjoyable as I thought. I realised that I like teaching people in smaller groups, and rather than the big groups. Then so I got out of that, went and worked at a business centre, which was teaching all of the Microsoft Word and Excel and that side of things. But I do pick it up easy. That's it's one of my core skills, something that I do find it easy to pick it up. And I think you're right. It's just computing came in just at the right time for me. And you see it in the young kids these days. They can pick up an iPad and get around it. And it's part of what they've experienced. But I do think for everyone who isn't used to it, you do need to keep at it, because as soon as you lose the skill, it's gone.
Yes. I know there's a few things you haven't done for a while, and you go, all right, I know there's steps to this, and let me just do those steps. And I'm part of a not-for-profit public speaking group, which the listeners will have heard me mention more than once, but we have a lot of members in their late 70s and 80s, and it's been wonderful seeing them turn up to all these online meetings that we're having all the time, and they just come on now. They remember to turn their microphone on, and they're in the right place on the screen. It's really cool. There's other ones where I was on one last night and go, no, just hang on. We're looking at the ceiling. Turn the camera to the. It takes a process, but it's just, again, it's learning skills that we haven't had to use, and that's where you do need an expert. I know I've learned this you can, with your social media and your SEO in particular, and then any sort of software assistance on particular programs. There's so many programs. How do you get your head around everything that's out there?
I'm a bit of, as I said, I'm a bit of a learning addict. So I love playing with things, and I do think playing with something is what helps you understand it more. But a lot of people are scared of playing with things. They're scared of what that button does, and if they're going to delete everything if they do that. And I have had a lot of people say, "Can you just stand behind me while I do something?" Because invariably it works when I stand behind them, and also they just need that confidence. And I do that in some of the packages I sell. So with people coming online with social media, So some people want to get up and running and want to do it themselves, but it's that scared bit of, am I setting it up all right? Am I posting in my personal account or the business one? Am I getting it right? So one of my packages is just helping them set up everything right. And then I can assist them in, say, the first month to show them how to do it, make sure that they've kind of been handheld through the process, and then they can go off and run with it. And I particularly like that style. That's one of the things I enjoy is seeing someone learn how to do it and then be able to do it themselves ongoing. I like exposing things a bit.
Yeah. And look, it's one of the biggest problems for women in business is exposure, isn't it?
Yes.
And doing it well.
Yeah, I would say exposing yourself, like in terms of marketing and bringing yourself out, because I think a lot of people are, we're taught, we have the tall poppy syndrome. We have, you can't be standing out there or you have your head cut off. So you're taught really to be humble. I think women in particular are taught to be humble. Men are more confident about selling themselves, and I've seen that. Being in a male-dominated industry of software and male-dominated industry of corporate leadership, I've seen that they can sell themselves a lot better than women can, and I think that we have to really fight that that bit inside to show our achievements, and I struggle with it still. I've found the way that I do it now is that I try and show the achievements of what my clients have got now. So how we've gone with the SEO, if we've, doubled their traffic through or brought that in, then I'd show that rather than kind of pushing myself, because I find that bit a little bit difficult to do. It's
yes, and that is, and that's what I do, is work with women to enable that level of confidence and belief in themselves, and it certainly is one of those things that women find that hardest, is to promote themselves and to talk about themselves. But it's such an important factor because I know we're all a bit of voyeurs. We want to look into somebody else's world and get to know them, because that's who we buy from. We buy from people that we know, like, and trust. And this is the beauty of the podcast, is people get to know the person. It's not just a sales pitch. It's the person behind the business, and the person, the experiences they have, and what they can give to somebody else with ideas and recommendations as well. So it's an important factor that we do promote ourselves, and that we are seen everywhere.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, confidence. Like for me, the confidence isn't, I know that I can help the clients. I know that inside myself, but I feel like I'm bragging. It's that you don't want to feel like you're bragging. That I know I have to get over. I know that I have to show the achievements and show that this can be done. So.
Where are you based? Not that it makes a difference when you're doing what you're doing.
I'm based in Brisbane. I work from home, which I absolutely love, because in the corporate life, I didn't really get much of a lifestyle. Worked all the hours and for years wanted to get a dog again, but kept thinking, no, I can't get a dog while I'm away. And so finally now I'm at home working with my dog at my side, and on the computer, which I love doing. And then I do get to see people. I go out for meetings and catch up with them that way, or on Zoom calls, because I can do clients from anywhere, as you said. And that's the beauty of my role, especially the SEO. It's something that's worldwide that I can do. At this stage, I only deal with Australian customers. And I think that's probably best, because I know our market a little bit more, so I focus in.
Yes, and I find that too. I prefer, when it comes to that form of marketing, dealing with local people, because they just do know it better. I know I'm just trying to get a new logo, not the Janeen Vosper one, but my Speech Perfect one done, and I'm working with someone local who is working with somebody offshore, but I'm sure they're a male though. They can't quite get it right, and it's just that's why I just go back to the old one. It's fine. it just
It's hard when they just, there's some disconnect sometimes, and we experienced that. We had teams in India and Vietnam and the Philippines with our programming, and they work to a certain level, but then there's some understanding that you realise you have to have onshore, because you can't communicate that really well. So I'm all here.
Yes, and that's good, because I mean that's again you want. Look, I find I want people in the same time zone too. I think that's a real benefit as well.
Daylight saving is a struggle sometimes.
The daylight saving's fine. I don't. That doesn't bother me. But the whole, it's actually an advantage when I'm on meetings at night down south, because it's an hour earlier for me to finish. So it's all good. So what's the struggles with social media? What social media do you particularly focus on, and what do you find as the biggest struggles?
I tend to focus. I tend to focus on Facebook and Instagram, because Facebook has the biggest following, and particularly for a lot of small sole trader type businesses, local businesses, a lot of their markets are on Facebook. So that's where they really need to be, or Instagram. LinkedIn is more for the business-to-business style businesses, and so I do venture into the LinkedIn market, but Facebook is probably the key one that I focus on, and it has so much information. So because I can help people with the social media, just doing the posts, or I can help them with the ad side of things. Even if you're not doing the ads, you can find out about your market so much in Facebook with their audience tools. And there's a lot of things that people don't know about Facebook. A lot of people aren't using the facebook.com/business link. So that's something that everyone should look at if they have got a business on Facebook. It has more capabilities for them. It's where they can do their advertising really easily. And it has this audience tool that you can go in and find out a lot of information. So Facebook is probably the key one there.
That's a good point, though, that with the business account, that you actually have a business account for your Facebook, and no cost, by the way, no cost. It just is a business account. But you can do it. There's a lot more things that are visible to you using that. Yeah.
Yes, and some tool sets and some training that they have as well. So it's they're really trying to help people that have businesses on Facebook. And I would point out that you can use a personal account, but I really think it looks more professional if you're using a business account, and keep your personal stuff on your personal one. So don't mix them. You do want to put some of the information out there about yourselves, because, as you said, the know, like, and trust is a big part of getting known on social media. But you don't want every detail of your life out there. It's something that a lot of people do struggle with. So setting it up is one of the things that I help people do, so that they know the difference and don't get confused.
I know with my personal one, I'm quite open to have everybody know me. I don't have to have a private page. I do have a private page with some family stuff, but that's fine. But again, it's just because people need to see you for who you are. I think that's the important factor. But I know with me, I'll about every fourth post, maybe fifth post, will be a bit of a business thing or a training thing, and then the rest is just all social or a joke or me walking somewhere or having a bitch about something. No, I don't do that very often. But again, that's sometimes you need to, because that's who you are. That's the real you as well. But that's not on the business account though. It's all business on the business one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm
I was just
careful
talking about the page. Yeah.
yeah, because I'm careful because not everyone wants to see as many photos of my dog as my
Really?
family do, and so that's one thing. But I also find some people have to be careful because they might put political statements on there, and that can affect how people see them for their business side. And you have to just be a little bit careful about what you're putting where. And a lot of the younger generation haven't learnt that, and that's the message they're trying to get out there, is that this is something that's up there, could be forever. So you have to be careful.
No, absolutely. See, so all right, people pop out for posts on Facebook all the time and throw some marketing, this is the event that I'm running, or they'll put something in a group to say this is an event that I've got happening. What's the purpose of Facebook really to Facebook marketing?
Why utilize Facebook?
Why utilize it?
Well, it's where your audience is. That's the key to it, is and that's the first question when you're considering which platform to be on. Where is my audience going to be? So if your audience is, say you're an accounting firm, and if you're an accounting firm that helps small businesses, or an accounting firm that helps mum and dad, your markets are different. So if you're an accounting firm helping small businesses, you go on LinkedIn because the businesses are on LinkedIn. If you're an accounting firm that helps mum and dad, then you need to be on Facebook because that's where mum and dad spend their time. And as they're flipping through, reading their posts, you're hoping to get your marketing or your post to stand out to them and make them stop, make them pause and see you. And it isn't a process. It is the sales process that everyone has to think about. You're not going out there straight away with a sales ad, because as you said, people don't know you, like you, trust you at that stage. So the first stage is the awareness. You're getting your brand out there so they see it. They see it in their posts. They've seen it a few times. So people need to see things about 8 times before they actually register it in their head. So you need to get your posts out there and visible, which is something that Facebook, being so large and so many people on it, the reach of your posts is only, I think it's about 5.5% of your followers. So the people that like you, only 5% of them will see it, or just over 5% will see. So if you have 100 followers, only 5 people will see your post. So you have to put quite a bit out there to get your post seen by enough people.
So you have to repeat it. So it's not the same 5%.
It depends. Yeah, it depends on the post, because that post will be shown initially to a couple of your followers. And if Facebook sees that they're engaging with it, then they'll send it out to a few more. And it will vary on who has your Facebook page marked as a see first page. So if some of your followers have that, then they'll definitely get it in theirs. And then we'll go to their followers, and so it kind of snowballs out. But it all comes to actually putting enough posts up there and then getting that engagement on your post. So it has to be something interesting. It has to be something that gets a like or a share or a comment. And in Facebook terms, you really don't want them just liking it. You want them hearting it, or using one of the other reactions.
Oh, okay. So that causes a different than just a like.
Yeah, in Facebook, in their algorithm, not that we know exactly what their algorithm does, because no one will expose
Share
those.
that? Really?
But we test lots of things, and one of those things is because people are making more of an effort, Facebook see that means that they're more engaged, because like is just the default button that they can press, whereas if they're taking that extra step to make an extra choice, then they must like it more, so it's more engaging, and so it will spread further. So that's tip number 1 for you there, is
excellent.
Make sure you get people to heart it.
I put up a joke about twice a week, and it's a very visual one. And part of it is because I just have a laugh. It's the purpose of it, but it's also I'm very aware that I get a lot of smiley face things with it as well, and a lot of shares. So I put one up yesterday, and it's got quite a few shares on that, and so that obviously helps it get seen by more than.
It spreads you around. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
That's spreading. And one of the things when it does spread is some people will like your page or like your post, and you'll get in your Facebook notifications a thing that says invite them to like your page. Go and do it. So any posts that I have that go viral, I'll go onto it, and every couple of days I'll be going through and checking if there's any new likes, and I'll be inviting them all to my page.
So that's your business page, though, you're talking about now?
Any page.
Oh, any page. Oh, okay.
Any page.
All right, cool.
It works on any.
I've never seen that invite come up.
So go and check any of your posts that you've done, and you'll see if people have liked them. And I have a video on this so I've got a YouTube channel called Automate Now, spelt AUTOM, the number 8 NOW.
Mm-hmm.
I really should have picked a different name to start with. That's tip number 2 for startup companies. But I have a YouTube channel, Automate Now, and I've got a tip called, I think it's something like getting followers from new likes or something.
Oh, okay. All right. Go and check it out.
It just shows you how to get into Facebook, how to get into that like, and then get to the invite button so that you can invite them to your page. And that's how you can grow your following a little bit easier, because they get an invitation and it's easier for them to click on it. Whereas some people see your post, like your post, they don't always take the step to go and look at your profile and like your page. So it's another growth area.
Okay. So it's that, being very consistent, obviously. So you've got more and more people will see your ads and opportunity to see it. So then you're trying to then draw traffic to their website or collecting data. Is that the purpose? Should be the purpose of a lot of your social media advertising?
I think a big part of social media is awareness, to draw them into your page or to do an offer. But you have to go through that stage of awareness, consideration, where they know, like, trust you. So you have to have things where they, some people will have the freebies that they put up. So, here's something, in return, give me your email address, that sort of thing. So people go through those stages, and then finally you'd get to the stage where you'd send out a conversion style or sales ad.
Yeah, whatever it is after that strategy call or an offer. Okay.
But the website is a big thing. And, I do think you get a lot more from your search engine optimization for that. But it is that awareness, getting people to know your business.
That was where I was going to go next, is that with the SEO is to, it seems to be, well, it's definitely one of the 400 emails I get each week saying, let me help you with your SEO. But it is definitely, I'm connecting with quite a few people around the networking groups that I'm with, that's what they focus on now, is the SEO, and Google particularly is what their expertise is, and it seems like it's shifting, that it's more shifting into, well, the SEO is obviously driving it somewhere or to your website, but that with Google though as well, that's part of it, isn't it? I mean, that's all we all use Google.
Part of it. Yeah. And I think does everyone know out there what's SEO and search engine
optimization? It's always good to have an explanation. Yeah.
Okay. So search engine optimization, and that gets shortened to SEO. It means that what we're trying to do is make your website appear at the top of the search engines. So all the search engines, but the primary one is Google, because most people go and use Google. It's the biggest one. Bing is probably the next one after that. So it's good to get into all of them, but you want to hit Google and you want to be up the top. And the reason you want to be up the top is because pretty much no one clicks on the second page of Google. When they search for something, they want to see it on that first page. And the ones that are up the top get more of the hits than the ones that are down the bottom. And it's quite significant. From position 1 to position 10, it's 30 times the clicks. So
this is after the ones with the ads.
After the ones with the ads. So if you look at the page these days, when you search on a phrase, you'll get a section of ads up the top. People they're switched on to that. They know that they're ads. It's got the word ad in front of them. So they still get clicks, but they only get about 12% of the clicks on the page. So ads are up the top. It is useful if you can't make it off the second page to get an ad. But then the next section, and it's not always the case, but on a lot of ones when you do dentist near me or hairdresser near me, or you're searching for something near me in particular, but Google shows it for a lot more things than just near me, but you'll see a group of businesses under a map. And they're the businesses that have got a free Google listing. So you can only be in that pack if you have taken advantage of Google's free listing.
I want to get, I've got the listing, but I want to be in the pack, but I'm not.
Well, we need to talk more.
We do.
But then, so they get about 60% of the clicks. So a big portion go to those 3 businesses that list under the map. And then underneath that are all the organic search, and that's all the website searches that you used to. So that leaves us with 40, 28. Am I getting that right? 30.
What'd you say? How much? Yeah,
it's 12%
right.
at the top.
You did say that too, by the way. 12%, then 60%, so 72. Then we've got 28% left.
Yeah, thank goodness.
Yeah, that's right.
Pure maths, I can do derivatives like anything, but straight maths, I'm in trouble.
I play golf. We have to add up in our head.
Yeah.
And usually for me, it's well over 100, so we're good.
Pretty good. So down the bottom is the bit that I was talking about with the positions 1 to 10. So you've only got 28% of the people. So if 100 people click on the page, only 28 are going to go to that bottom section. And really you get about 8 or 9 on that first one. And then it diminishes dramatically down the page because people don't want to go down the page. So it's all about getting up to the top, and there's lots of things that affect it. Google don't tell us what exactly, once again, and they change it. They make little alterations along the way. But there's things like making sure your page speed is really fast on your website. So you want that under 5 seconds and preferably under 3 seconds.
That's one of the things I'm addressing at the moment is the page speed.
Thing.
Yeah.
It makes a big difference on where you get rated in Google. And then you have things like keywords that you need to get. So that's making use of the phrases that you think people will search for to find your page. And then keywords, phrases. You need to look at your competitors. So you need to check out, because it is a competitive space, the people that are the other ones on the page are your competitors. So you need to see what they're doing and how they're rating. And there's all sorts of factors about how long the page has been up when people click on them, how long people stay there, if they bounce off, all comes into play. So what you need though is a strategy in place, because you also want to make sure you're not wasting time on putting things that you think are nice keywords that people might use. But I have tools that show me how many people search for different keywords and all the different combinations, and how difficult they are to rate as well, because you might put all this energy into one of the phrases, and yet there's some big corporate businesses that are definitely going to knock you off the first page. So there's no point putting your energy into those ones. Instead, focus on these other ones.
Okay.
strategy is behind it all, I think.
Yeah. I remember I did learned some stuff on Google AdWords a while ago, and went searching for the, whether they were child or parent words or mother words. Is that right? And it was really interesting because some of them are just, as you said, you'd never, if you use them, they're common things. If you use them, you'd never be found anyway. It doesn't.
Exactly.
Better off looking for something that's not as common, but still people will search for, isn't it? Yeah. It's very complicated. You need people like yourself who have figured out what works, or at least have the tools to be able to go and find what works and
what doesn't.
Yeah, because you can spend a lot of time wasted on things.
You can waste a lot of time, you can waste a lot of energy, and in the end, it's your free advertising. That's the thing to keep in mind. It's your free advertising. So you want to push and get up to the top of the free advertising as much as you can. So then when you do spend your money on your ads, you're spending them on the ones that are that you need to spend them on, that are going to give you some business, and you've got more budget for them because you have focused on your free ones first.
Yes, yeah, that makes a lot of sense too. So, but you talked about a strategy. So have it, that makes sense. We have business plans, we have marketing plans, and I suppose social media plans, and it's all part of that strategy, isn't it?
It is. I go through a whole process of reviewing the competitors. I do SWOTs on it as well. So your strengths and your weaknesses, your opportunities and your threats. So, there's words out there that people don't even realise would be giving them business that they could be using. So that's where the opportunities come in play. Your threats are what your competitors are doing at the moment and the risks that you've got in there. So we go through a whole process of deciding what are the things that you're actually best focused on and putting those into play. And that's, I think, once you do a strategy, then you move into executing your strategy, and it takes a whole lot of stress away as well. It's the same with social media. When you've got your plan in place and you do batching, so you get all your posts all together, then when you're just doing the plan, you're doing the plan and you're not stressed, and it takes that stress away. I like to take the stress away.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that always is good. I love batching. It's especially if I can, going, I just don't feel like working at the moment. I don't feel like, but I want to be creative, so I'll go onto Canva and I'll create 4 months worth of quotes on a particular things, and they're all done then, and
it works really
scheduled
well.
And yeah.
But you have to have that green hat, the Edward de Bono green hat creative thinking mode on. And that's why I think a lot of people struggle with social media, is when they do the day-to-day and they're in work, they're in fact mode, they're in blue hat or white hat mode, and they're just doing their work. And then they're trying to suddenly come up with some creative thing. It doesn't work. You have to switch over, and batching makes it easy because you go into that mode. I don't know about you, but I like to put some music on first and get a bit dancing going, having a bit of fun. And then I get into my batching, and I use Post-it notes. Do you use that process?
I've actually trained people how to use Post-it notes.
Love Post-it note party.
Yeah.
Process and give myself a time limit, and off I go with my Post-it notes.
Yeah.
And I put them up all around the room.
I usually suggest either, if most of us don't have the whiteboard the size of mine, but is just on a glass door even, and then put them together and batch it for ideas and then
arrange.
Yeah. What's the other thing? The mapping. Mind mapping. But it's never been my thing. But I like the Post-it notes because it's really quick and you can get stuck into it. And so for those listening, it's just a matter of way of getting ideas. You don't think about anything. You just pop your ideas straight onto Post-it notes and just stick them all over the biggest whiteboard or the biggest glass door or room you've got. And then when you give end of your time frame, you start looking at them and put them into similar ideas and similar things that you go, oh, that's all of that around that topic, and that's around that topic. I've created week-long training sessions by doing Post-it notes. Yeah, so that's But you can do it with creatives. So I hadn't thought about that. That's a great way to do that with your marketing, or even what blog am I going to write this week? And
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah, blogs are another thing. I use OneNote for that and stick all of my ideas in there because I just keep coming up with things, and I am overloaded with ideas. That's part of the problem. Overloaded with ideas and then actually have to execute them all.
that's okay. This is taking action day. Yeah, my Canva thing to do those things is a Saturday afternoon. I'm very much for one going, oh, I'm not working today, and go and do things. But if I'm home, and I'll sat out and let's just be really creative and
I love
have fun.
Canva.
Yeah, me too.
Canva addict.
And we've talked about the SEO, but just problems about people doing it themselves, is how does that work?
Well, one of the biggest problems for people doing it themselves is that they don't have the experience to know what they don't know. And so sometimes they can make some mistakes along the way that are actually detrimental to their website. So it actually is, instead of Google seeing you positively, well, Google will see you negatively and move you down instead of moving you up. So I think that's one of the key things that you need to be careful about doing it yourself. I mean, we mentioned tools before, and that's one of the things that I have access to some very, very powerful data-driven tools. So you can find there are some free search tools out there, keyword tools and things that you can use, but it's a lot of work, and yet I can see a lot of information very quickly about your sites and put it together. So I think they're two of the big ones that I would worry about, and probably I'm just trying to think. There's probably one more that I'm forgetting that you should be careful about.
I know when you talked about the keywords, I've been told if you put too many of the one word through, then it becomes a negative as well. Yeah.
Keyword stuffing. Yeah, that's when people do focus in on one word. And Google's clever enough now to not know you don't have to use the same word over again. It knows two words that are related. It's very involved in what it knows. So you don't actually have to be so focused on getting one specific keyword. It will relate the topic and know that you are an expert in the area, and that's what Google's after: experts, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. And that's where some people go off and do backlinks and pay for people to give them all these backlinks to their web page. And you do want links to your page because it shows that other businesses think you're an authority. But if you get bad ones that have bad spam scores, then Google will see that negatively. So you do have to be a little bit careful about what you do.
It's a very in-depth topic, and you've got to talk about even keeping track of what you've got to do, what's happening as well, and not just leaving it as a set and forget. I know, because I just try and avoid all that, but
that's a big point. Google in the last months had 3 small updates to it, and that can affect a business's keywords dramatically. So you can actually drop suddenly just because they've made an update where they rate something a bit differently, and suddenly you're down. And you've got to remember your competitors you can be assured that your competitors are working on their websites and their SEO, and so you've got to continually monitor it. And that's why I do maintenance programs for people, because I think it is something that you need to watch ongoing.
No, absolutely. And I know you do software. We've only got a little bit of time left. So what sort of software? I mean, that's just saying, I
like to say everything.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
My dream.
That's a random thing. The amount of software that I personally use on a weekly basis is just mind-blowing, and that's just to run the things that I do. Even just software, like we're on Zoom at the moment and we're recording it, and then I will edit it on Camtasia, and then I'll pop up the visual on YouTube, and I will put the other one up on Audio Boom, and then I'll pop it onto the back of my website. And this is just from one interview that you do all of these.
With all of those.
Yeah, 6 different types of processing with the software. But it's
it is. I know it's a big statement.
Yeah.
But what I try and do is, because I can come up to speed with software very quickly. What I tend to do with companies when I help them with software is that I go into a company and I'll watch them work. So they don't actually pay me for my time of watching them. So I'll watch them, see what they're doing, watch how they're doing it, and I'll ask some questions along the way. And one example I had of a company that I helped out was they had this tool set and it was sending out their reminder messages and appointment via SMS, and they'd go through this process that was a really long half-hour process each day to do it. And I was watching and I thought, this software just can't be this long. And what had happened was that the first person who'd been trained on it handed it over to someone else as they left, and they handed it over to someone else and they handed it over. Chinese whispers had come down to this point that they had this really long process. So I got into the manual for that software, found the process, set it up the right way, and set the groups up that they needed. And then basically it was just a click and done job for them. So that's saving them half an hour each day. And so I charge them on how much I'm actually saving you in your business. And businesses quite like that one.
Absolutely.
And it helps. And, you get it varies. I've helped some companies where they were kind of stuck between 2 software companies. One saying it was their fault, the other one saying it was their fault. And so I came in as kind of their advocate and went between the companies for them. And because of my software experience and in software companies, I could talk in the right terms for these people and get them to work out exactly who had the problem and solve the problem and get them going. So it varies. I like to help everyone in different ways.
Absolutely. I'm impressed. I'm very impressed, Nici. So for anyone else that's listening and is just as impressed as I am, how can they get in touch with you?
Okay, well, I'm on all of the major platforms.
As we would expect, but yes.
My website is www.automatenow.com.au, and that automate has that 8 in the middle, AUTOM 8 NOW. You can contact me via email, and I just have helpme@automatenow.com.au, and I can answer you on that. And my phone 0400 048 706. You can always ring me because sometimes talking to someone is all you want to do.
Absolutely, it makes a difference. I know when I give away a 20-minute strategy call, and that is so different when people have the opportunity to speak to someone directly. It's really helpful, and especially if there's something that they're trying to explain.
Exactly. It's hard to do it in an email.
Oh, absolutely.
Just get it out.
Yes, and I know on LinkedIn you're constantly putting out little videos and information on things as well, which is really useful.
Yeah, and I do that on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and on Instagram. So all of them get my tips, and my videos go on to YouTube on that Automate Now channel. And I try and put things out like I mentioned the free listing for Google, so I've got a video on how to set up the free listing with Google, and it would be, if you took anything out of this, please take that one out. If you don't have your free listing set up with Google, go set your free listing up.
So is that your number one final 3 tip?
That would be number 1.
You know what? I only set mine up through COVID this year, and I couldn't believe I'd only just done it. But I keep putting more things up regularly, so it's not just left and forgotten.
Exactly. So that'd be number 1. If I'd give you 3, the second one would be make sure you have a strategy. A strategy for your SEO, a strategy for your social media. You need to have a strategy in place. And if you need help with that, contact me about it. I do have affordable packages. I I know what it's like when you start out in business. I know that money is tight, and that's why a lot of people try and do the stuff themselves. So what I do with my startup package is I spread the project cost over the 6 months maintenance. So you have a smaller amount you're paying monthly, so you're not actually hit with those upfront costs. So strategy, make sure you have a strategy. And my third one would be to look at your own SEO and just check where you're at. So I'm challenging your listeners to go and work out 3 phrases that people would use if they were searching for your business. So think about from your customer's point of view. Don't use the words that you use. Make sure you're using the words your customers would use. And go into Google, use the search in there, and then see where you are. And if you're over on the second page, you need to do some work. And if you're down the bottom of the page, you need to do some work.
Absolutely.
And if you're up the top of the page, you need to do some maintenance to make sure you stay up there.
There's something going on all of the time. So to find you again, just going over that, it's Automate Now with the ATE is not an ATE, it's a number 8 and now and .com.au.
That's it. Exactly.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you for all of that expert advice there, Nici. That's just, it's a mind-blowing subtopic, and for someone who's got their head around it so well as you have, and being able to explain all of that as simply as you did and give that great advice today, I really appreciate it. I'm sure the listeners do as well.
I hope they do. I hope they get something from it, because I believe small businesses are the backbone of our economy and how we're going to keep improving. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So that is Nici Buckley and from Automate. Sorry, what did I say?
Nici Bickley.
Oh, Bickley. Sorry, Nici.
That's right. If I'm presenting on Sale of the Century, I'd be Nici Buckley.
You would. That's where it came from. That's right. Nici Bickley from Automate Now. And I'm Janeen Vosper, your host of the We Are Women podcast. Thank you for listening to this today. Remember, if you really love what you've heard, to leave a 5-star review. And if you've got any issues that you need to discuss, or you're just not sure about anything that's happening in your business, then please go and book a 20-minute strategy call. There's no cost to it. If I can't help you, I know lots of people who might be able to do exactly that and point you in the direction of the right person. I thank you for listening again, and we will be back again in a fortnight's time for the next episode of the We Are Women podcast. Have a great time. Bye.
So, do you feel stuck in a rut in business? Visit speechperfect.com.au and download Janeen's free ebook to avoid the 5 most common stumbling blocks women face in business. It's jam-packed full of tips to overcome the barriers that could be holding you back from the success that you dream your business will be. We would love you to leave a review of today's episode and share this podcast with other women in need of entrepreneurial inspiration. Subscribe to the next episode now and join the We Are Women community.